A pleasant good morning to all and sundry in Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Lennox Smith, the political leader of Love. We call this press conference to address the crucial question of really and truly is about our democracy and the subverting of our franchise and the right to choose the individual of our choice. Our candidate, the Love candidate, and I want to make it clear that you will not see Love in the records of the EBC. What you would see, of course, for Laventille Est-Morvant, where our candidate did in fact contest on the 28th of April, is the name, first and foremost, Robert Mitchell, our candidate, and then, of course, the symbol. Just as the OWTU, we use the symbol of the UNC on that occasion. So I want to make it very clear because there's some mix-up with some media houses with respect to that. And, of course, that came and went, the election process itself. But we had a difficulty with respect to seven PDs, polling divisions. And we wanted, of course, to find out officially from the EBC what is the status statistically. And we made applications, of course, let me just say by way of introduction, and of course they will introduce themselves earlier, but I have, of course, the election agent, officially recognized post for elections purposes by the EBC. And we also have, of course, our elections officer here as well to give a synopsis as to his own view as to this development. But however, on several occasions, the elections officer will, of course, give her own analysis and her own experience. But just to say, broadly speaking, on several occasions, we did, in fact, inquire and we pursued these seven PDs to get the official tally, but to no avail up to this point in time. The candidate is supposed to be with us, but time is time, and we are going to, of course, pursue because we feel that this situation is very, very important. So without further ado, I will put you on to the elections agent, who, of course, will give you a rundown as to what transpired on the day, election day, the 28th of April, and, of course, what she has done so far in terms of trying to extract or to get this information from the EBC. We are very, very concerned. So without further ado, she'll introduce herself, and then, of course, she will get down into the nitty-gritty.
A pleasant good morning to each and everyone. And my name is Denise Robinson. I was the election agent for Mr. Robert Mitchell. My problem is, after doing our tally on the 28th of April, we were short of 6 PDs. While going to the EBC, after they sent out the results and whatever, I was told that they cannot find them. I asked why. They told me they don't know, but they will not let me speak to the person in person. They spoke to me via telephone. I did it again. I did it again. I did it again. About 5 times I went there. And in going, they will not allow me to go upstairs to the 2nd floor to speak to this person who collects the results and have the tally and do everything like that. So I asked why. On my 5th occasion, a young lady came to the phone and she told me, one Miss Singh would like to know why I want. I said, because I am the election agent and I need to know what is the overall number that he has gotten. She said, well, if he's the candidate, let him come and get it for himself. But he has tried also and to no avail. And right now we are trying to figure out why is this happening, because everybody else is getting their own, why Laventille East is not getting theirs.
That's it?
Yeah, for now.
All right. Okay. Well, so you will appreciate our deep concern that the EBC has been delinquent, have been recalcitrant, has been engaged in a delayed tactic for which we are extremely concerned. Of course, while we would have had some information coming out from EBC, whether in the newspaper, as the case may be, they would have issued, of course, bulletins with respect, of course, to the outcome of that particular election in Laventille Est-Morvant. We find it very suspicious that they would not want to give us something official stamped by the officials of EBC. I'm talking here about, of course, the chief elections officer who normally will sign off on these matters. And yet still, of course, we are yet to get it. So we thought we should call this press conference to highlight that fact and to, of course, express our deep concern, because it has implication for elections, it has implications for people's voting and want to vote for the candidate of their choice. We don't know what they have that is different to what we know it to be, but those 6 PDs we feel is crucial, and the fact that they are holding back raises all kinds of suspicion. And of course, we will talk about that later down the road. But in the meantime, let me put you on to the elections officer, who will introduce himself, and of course, he will give, now that he is very familiar with what is happening, he will give, of course, his analysis as to his concerns.
Hi, good morning. My name is Singh, Deolal Singh. I'm a businessman from the area, and I'm also the election officer of this group, Love. All right? Now, our concern is not because UNC win that we should stay quiet and sit back. No, we want to have autopsy done in the election and boundaries. We want to understand exactly how many people voted for our candidate, right? That's very important. So when you sit down and you're doing your autopsy on everything and your analysis, you need to know what really went down. And I think people tampering with election papers and election in the boundaries there, to me, if I'm correct, that's up to treason. Anybody interfering with anything for election purpose, that's a very serious matter. And I don't think we should leave this under, just leave it alone. I'm very concerned about this and where they're heading. Look how long, and they still haven't given us what we requested, and we are entitled to that. We are not asking for something unordinary, you know. That's the norm. This is what we are asking for. We're supposed to get all the information coming out of election and boundary for our candidate. All persons who vote, how much voters vote on both sides. That is all we want, and we need all the requisition to prove our point coming out from election. Okay? So I'm good with that.
Yes,
that's
sir.
What we would like.
Thank you very much. And of course, as he rightly said, and it cannot be overemphasized that we must do our own analysis. We must do, as he rightly said, our post-mortem and our autopsy, as he would put it. But the fact of the matter is that how can we go forward? We have a local government elections coming up, and therefore these pieces of information that to them may not seem important, but for us it's very important. We would want to know where most of our votes came from, what part of the PD or the polling district these people came from, and of course, once we have the generic sheet to, of course, tick off and to indicate where we got our votes, we need to get every piece of information, and we are very, very concerned that the EBC has been so insensitive to, of course, our plight. And that is the basis for having this discussion this morning. And we hope that the relevant authority will, of course, be alert and to understand that these kinds of situations cannot be countenanced or tolerated by an institution that is so significant for our democracy and our democratic evolution and the supervision of elections. I cannot overemphasize once again that this is about the right to vote, and the right to vote for someone of your choice. and the institution that is supposed to supervise, promote this process cannot be allowed to slipshodly or just callously refuse to give information. This is 6 we're talking about, and we suspect, since it covers Malik and environs, where most of the, from our analysis, the UNC resides, the UNC votes come from, we feel that it is crucial, and therefore, of course, the 3,000, we like it, just over 3,000 votes that our candidate got. Yes, we like it, we appreciate it. It's historic, especially when one looks at modern comparison. Our candidate did better than, of course, every other candidate along the, well, let's say the stretch between Laventille West and, of course, Port of Spain South. So we need to get the information in order to get the things right. Let me say as well that Love has been formed as what we call a regional political organization dedicated to Port of Spain South, Laventille West, and Laventille Est-Morvant, 3 constituencies. We don't see them as constituency, but for the purposes that we have called this election, we have called this particular press conference, this is convenient, but really and truly, it really covers that geographic space from the foothills of Laventille to, of course, right over the hills into Morvant, into Malik. That is the geographic space. In terms of the social composition and the demography, the people are the same. They are people who are poor, they are working class, and and have been, of course, disappointed over and over by supporting on a consistent basis without relent, without any kind of break in supporting one party, the PNM. And therefore, what we have done is to recognize that we have been shortchanged, that we have been not taken care of, and that we have been, of course, neglected. And so in such circumstance, we believe as human beings who are entitled to the spoils of the country, the PNM has done us an injustice, and therefore we have created this machinery, this mechanism called LOVE, Laventille Outreach for Vertical Enrichment, in order to take us forward collectively, individually, and appreciatively. I don't know if any one of you will have any closing comments, and then we will end there.
I want to just add to everything being said by Mr. Lennox Smith. 3 of our PDs, I had to write letters to the lawyer because there were people outside of this polling station naturally telling people who to vote for and who not to vote for. And yes, my name was taken to EBC. There are members who were not given back their declaration of secrecy, which was supposed to, and they came up with all sort of excuses. So I don't know if it's a piece of vindication, but if it is vindication, we are willing to go forward because that is not what is supposed to stop us from getting our proper results. As Mr. Smith would say, 3,000 is 4,285 our client got, our candidate got, compared to the other candidate who got 5,792. So we having the other 6, who's to say that Laventille East won their seat? And because they declared that they lost, they're not giving up Laventille. But it's time they give up what don't belong to them.
You have anything? Yeah. So you understand, in other words, we are prepared to take the next step, which of course is the legal step, in order to get the EBC to do what is right. We are, whilst it is in the realm of speculation, we are of the firm belief that the early conceding of defeat by the PNM, very early, unusually, so suggests to us that they would prefer to lose an election than to lose any one of the Laventille seats, because they believe that that is their domain, that they could put a tie on a crapo, and of course we will vote. So we are extremely concerned. And while of course whilst we are part of the UNC, and therefore the coalition of interests, this is not a UNC per se matter. This is Laventille Outreach for Vertical Enrichment, the political entity that has committed itself to the arrangement with the UNC. And therefore, we don't expect the UNC to fight our battle for us. We will fight our electoral battle, because we feel that we have been unjustly dealt with, and the suspicion that would arise as a consequence of the conduct of the EBC is very, very, very disconcerting to us. In fact, only yesterday we submitted a formal letter to the ABC indicating, among other things, that we are prepared to take legal action if those results are not forthcoming to us, having regard, of course, to our intrinsic involvement and the interests that we have in developing and advancing the development of Laventille. And as I said, Laventille here means the traditional Laventilles, as well as, of course, Port of Spain South, where, of course, we feel the social conditions are such and created by the betrayal of a party that has dominated these parts for too long. And they have, of course, instead of our loyalty being rewarded, we are given, of course, a raw deal as a consequence. So thank you very much, of course, for giving us the opportunity to address you, and I trust that the population will understand what and why we are here, in order, of course, to protect our democratic tradition, and at the same time make certain that the right person is put at the helm of the constituency of Laventille Est-Morvant. Our apology for the candidate, the candidate that contested, of course, on our behalf. He's not here, Robert Mitchell, but I think he was indisposed only this morning. He was called out to some event and therefore unable to attend. So thank you very much for listening to us.